Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Cardiff City World. If you're new around here, please do subscribe, get involved, join, be a member, all that good stuff. This is a special series that I've decided to make called Sleeping Giant, Rebuilding Cardiff City. And what we're going to do is we're going to rebuild this club and fix the problems from the top to the bottom, from the ground up, so to speak. And we're going to delve into every little bit of the football club and see where we can improve, where we can do better. And I think it's clear for everyone to see that both on and off the field, Cardiff City need vast improvements. So episode 1 today is entitled Vincent Tan, the board and the balance sheet. Welcome to the first episode of Rebuilding Cardiff City. Today, we embark on a comprehensive look of Cardiff City Football Club's financial landscape, scrutinising the role of owner Vincent Tan, the board's decisions, and the club's fiscal health. In my opinion, what should and honestly must happen in the short, the mid, and the long term, whether it's Vincent Tan or another owner, is Cardiff City Football Club must spend the owner's money more intelligently. We must be more fiscal. We must run more smoothly. We must have a plan, both in regards to the playing staff, but also in regards to the structure off the field and how we go about things. The amount of misfires in the transfer window in Vincent Tan's time at the club and the money wasted on other such things. The Bluebirds have literally could have had top of the range departments and staff in all fields across the club to make this sleeping giant realize the potential that it has both on and off the field. Unfortunately, we've wasted a lot of money, from managers being paid for years after they've come back, to paying consultants to do jobs, to not having certain roles at the club, not having certain departments at the club, to then having poor elements of the club. So there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to get into. Today, we're going to focus more on that sort of financial side. We're going to look at the debt levels and what they mean, the mistakes over the years, and more today. And I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear what you think we can do better. And look, this isn't a Vincent Tan bashing thing. Vincent Tan is not my favorite person. I've never forgiven him for the rebrand, and I probably never will. But I can also step back and take emotion out of it to a certain extent, and understand that the club is functioning because of him. He puts in a lot of money. He keeps us afloat. He's made another commitment for another 12 months to make sure we stay afloat. Now, there's not this big queue of other owners to take over the club. So maybe we should be looking at how we can not waste his money. Like, to me, one of the biggest issues at the club is the wastage. The amount of money that we waste. We never have a plan on the field or off the field. That's a problem. So surely, whether it's the board or someone within the football club, has to go to the owner and with a plan and make sure that he understands, look, we could be doing this better, and long term, it'll cost you less. It is what it is, but let's delve into it. It's time we make a plan, as I say, and we start to think outside the box to bring us up to the level of other clubs and beyond. Because I, for one, I'm fed up of being what feels like 5 years behind the times in almost every metric to clubs, smaller clubs than Cardiff City. Cardiff is the capital of Wales, is a massive club. It has the infrastructure in the city, has the infrastructure in the club in terms of facilities. You know, you've got a top of the range academy. You've got a new-ish stadium. I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of us being behind the times. It's time for that to change. Bit of background, Vincent Tan acquired a 36.1% stake in Cardiff City in 2010, marking the beginning of a significant financial journey for the club. His tenure was being categorised by both ambition but also controversy. The initial investment, which Vincent Tan was aimed to stabilise and elevate the club's standing within the EFL. Unfortunately, there was complications with this, and the rebrand caused a massive uproar and a massive part of this problem, because it was this kind of emotional blackmail of, I'll give you 100 million, but you've got to do what I say and completely fundamentally change everything about your football club. And that didn't go down well. You'll be shocked to hear. However, under Vincent Tan's reign, the debt level has also risen. As of the latest filings, Cardiff City's debt stands at approximately 116 million. A substantial portion of that is owed to Vincent Tan himself, which obviously doesn't negate it by any means, but it does ease the pressure in terms of if that 116 million was owed to a load of different creditors and companies and they all wanted it back, then the club would fold real quick. While Vincent Tan's financial support has been pivotal, and the sustainability and the structure of the club definitely warrant closer examination. Cardiff City's transfer dealings have seen notable successes and, of course, failure. Several high-profile missteps over the years have lasting financial impacts on the club, as well as emotional impacts, because I think Vincent Tan, and maybe fairly or unfairly, feels he had his fingers burnt. He feels that he had the wool pulled over his eyes. You know, examples of this would be in 2013, the club record fee of 8 million plus for Andreas Cornelius. Cornelius failed to make an impact as a player. He was sold back to Copenhagen at a massive loss. He barely played a game. You know, you could argue he wasn't given an opportunity. But that, alongside Ian Moody and that whole debacle, certainly left a sour taste for Vincent Tan in terms of how he was going to run Cardiff City from then on. Gary Medine is another example of this. He was acquired for, would you believe, £6 million. Gary Medine, Cardiff City paid £6 million for Gary Medine. Let that sink in. Leading to questions about the club's recruitment strategies, short, mid, long-term plans. I've said it time after time after time. Cardiff City are reactive, not proactive. That has got to change. These are just examples. There's also, of course, many more examples of wasted funds, transfers with no real plan in place, and just ridiculous wages. Cardiff City have the 5th highest wage bill in the Championship. They lay 21st, and I don't think anyone, whilst I think we have a good squad, it's not balanced. There's not depth to it in terms of every position. And of course, you know, only as of January 2025, if we had a striker, for instance, we currently don't have a fit right back because we've only got one right back. And then we're into the youth. These examples underscore a pattern of substantial investment without the consummate results, straining the club's finances, highlighting the need for a more strategic approach to player acquisitions, scouting, analysis, and the general running of the football side of things. Because if the football side of things takes care of itself, the financial side of things will take care of itself. But it feels like since that rebrand and since the return to blue, even before that, it's not even the return to blue, but certainly since the rebrand, we have just thrown money away without a real plan, whether it's transfers, whether it's the director of football debacle, whether it's other aspects, and the lack of analysis that seems to be at the club, the lack of preparation, the player recoveries for injury, all sorts of things that come into it. Another element of this is the managerial changes. Frequent managerial changes have further destabilized the club, both on and off the pitch. You only need to look as recently as Errol Bullett. Errol Bullett was appointed in June of 2023. He guided the club to a 12th place finish in the Championship and was awarded a 2-year contract after a lot of delay and thinking and dilly-dallying on whether they were going to give him that contract. They felt he had to put the foundations in place in a 12th place finish to take the club forward. Yet he was awarded a new contract, a 2-year extension, should I say. Had a very poor start to the season, scoring 1 goal and had 1 point after 6 games. And he was sacked in September of 2024, just 3 months into a new deal. So we will now be paying him for 2 years. Same as we were paying Russell Slade for ages, with Mick McCarthy. The list is endless. We appoint a manager, they do all right, we give them a contract, we extend it, then we sack them, and it's repeats. We put an interim manager in place, he does all right in the interim, we give him a permanent contract, we then give him a longer contract, we were then paying him out when we're sacked. And we're paying I hate to think how many managers we're currently paying at Cardiff City, but this lack of planning and this financial wastage is a massive issue with the club. And that in itself, those managerial appointments and constant changing is another aspect of the financial issues at the club. There's never a plan. When we sack a manager, it literally feels like, right, so-and-so's been sacked, who should we go for? It's never that they've already got a short list of 4 or 5 men who, as soon as the manager's finished, they can then call up the agents of that short list and say, right, can you come in for an interview? Can we have a chat? What would you do with our squad? What would you do with this? How much money would you need? Blah, 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 blah. All these different things. Reactive, not proactive, constantly. And to think that doesn't have an impact on the financial stability and put a burden on the football club is just naive. And I find it remarkable that seemingly, not seemingly, successful businessmen away from football. Vincent Tan, successful businessman, vastly successful businessman away from football. Mehmet Dalman, multi-millionaire, successful businessman away from football. Kenneth Cho, successful car dealership or whatever, businessman, makes money. Yet in football, they don't feel the need to take care of the money. Is it because it's not their money and it's Vincent Tan's money, so they don't care? Or is it a lack of preparation and a lack of care for the football club and a lack of long-term planning? Delving back into the current debt levels and financial obligations, an examination of Cardiff City's filings with Company House reveals a complex financial landscape. The total debt, as I mentioned before, approximately £116 million. The debt, a substantial portion of that debt is owed to Vincent Tan, who has waived interest on his loans and indicated intentions to convert them to equity or write them off in the future. Mehmet Dalman is Chairman Mehmet Dalman's firm, Torman Finance Incorporated, has provided loans amounting to £37.3 million, with an additional £3 million loan from Vincent Tan's son, Yupeng Tan. These obligations highlight the club's reliance on internal financing, raising questions about the financial independence and future investment capabilities of the football club. And this is why it's so important that the club get a hold of this and they do things right from top to bottom. They put things in place from top to bottom to take the club forward, slowly reduce that debt, but also not become or not carry on being completely reliant on Vincent Tan. Long term, the aim should always be to make us financially viable and just run on itself. But we can't do that if we're a mess everywhere we go. Beyond football, Vincent Tan's portfolio spans diverse industries, including telecommunications, property, and gaming. Whilst these ventures have bolstered Tan's wealth, fluctuations in these sectors have influenced his capacity to fund Cardiff City. Notably, his net worth has seen significant changes over the years, which has an impact to the level of financial support available to the football club. The club's financial narrative is one of ambition, tempered by massive missteps. Understanding the history is crucial. We chart a course towards a sustainable and successful future. That's what we all want. But you have to reconcile that with the amount of money that we owe predominantly to Vincent Tan, to Mehmet Dalman and others. Until we can put things in place and we can fix the things that we can fix. Because look, I haven't got, and most people haven't got, the club hasn't got 170 million to just pay Vincent Tan and Co back, and we can all just move on. We don't have that. There's not a queue of multi-millionaires or billionaires who can come in and buy the club and who care about the club and who want to move it on. So what we have to do in the meantime is fix the football club. We have to put things in place. We have to put structures in place off the field. We have to improve recruitment so that on the field can improve. We have to get the managerial appointments correct. We have to as well, get the coaching. Let's look at the football structure. Vincent Tan doesn't want a director of football. Well, someone needs to explain to him that long term it will cost him less to get a football structure in place with a technical director and a director of football, but it would also take the academy and the first team into the next generation. The analysis and the figures used in this video are based on the publicly available information as of the 8th of April 2025. Financial figures are approximate and subject to change always. Little note to viewers, please do join us in the next episode as we explore strategies to restructure the club's football operations to ensure that the football decisions are made by football professionals. The next episode is all about player recruitment and evolving the squad. This series is going to be at least 6 parts long, 6 parts, probably maybe even 8. Maybe I'll stretch it to 10. I don't know, but we're going to delve into it all. At the moment, I've got the first 4 episodes all planned out and it's looking good. So please do get involved. Please do leave your comments, all that stuff. And if you can become a member of the channel and you'd like to help us create these videos, create these series. We put out content 7 days a week on Cardiff City, and it's a mixture of YouTube content, like short videos, 10 minutes here and there. We put out previews, live shows, also the live events that we do with ex-players. Well, it got some really, really interesting interviews come in as well. The memberships and the Patreons, that's what pays for that. That's what allows the channel. It all goes straight back into the channel, allows us to keep creating content and allows us to keep talking Cardiff City every day of the week. Ultimately, the reason why I love this channel so much and I love what we do with it is, if you look at championship football clubs, EFL football clubs, even the lack of care and attention given to them by the media, by talkSPORT, by Sky, by BT, by BBC, it's all about the Premier League. But Cardiff City fans or Millwall fans or Coventry fans or West Brom or Wrexham, they want to hear about their clubs. They want to hear analysis. They want to hear player interviews. They want to hear previews. They want to hear match reactions. They want to hear post-match analysis. That's something that we want to give more and more of. We want to give it all to you guys so that it is your one-stop shop for Cardiff City content. You're a Cardiff fan, you're a Welsh fan, whatever it may be, and you want analysis of games, you want chats with ex-players, you want pundits, you want different types of content all around your club. This is the place to be 7 days a week. Obviously, look, I could spend, we could spend 2 hours talking about Vincent Tan. I want to try and keep these videos to about 20 to 30 minutes because it is what it is. I've given a rough outline, that's the word I was looking for, a rough outline of what we're trying to do, and this is just the basis. The club is in pretty dire financial state, and I guess the point of this series, and my point, is that yes, financially we're up the creek without a paddle, but we waste so much money on managers and players that don't work out. My sort of idea, my analysis, my view is, if we can sort out the rest of the off the field things and we can improve things like player recovery, we can improve things like the football structure, we can improve things like preparation and analysis on top of what we're already building with the academy system, the club can look after itself going forward, on the pitch, off the pitch, And that takes the burden off the finances. Because if you've got the right people in place for all those things and metrics that I just discussed or just mentioned, long term, you're going to spend or you're going to waste less money on players that don't end up working out. You know, most recently, look at Wilfred Kanga. Came in the summer as our big striker signing on loan. Never, ever looked anywhere near the level required to play in the Championship. And it is my belief that, having watched him play for Cardiff, it was quite clear that you could see there was one or two elements to his game and his skill set that were never going to work in the Championship. His hold-up play was awful. His work rate was awful. And his physicality for someone so big was piss poor. So that's three metrics which are vital to a Championship striker. So if I can see that, and you can see that, why couldn't the football club see that? Well, I would argue it's because we don't have the people and the departments and the structures in place to make those decisions with any confidence. You could argue in January that the three signings we brought in were very good. And I would agree with you. They've hit the ground running. They've been decent. Yusuf Salic in particular has been excellent. I think Will Alves is a young player. He's going to be a bit hit and miss. Mansverk, I think, on the whole, has been excellent. Three good signings. But depending on who you listen to, those signings came from Omar Reese's contacts through the kind of young and youth systems. So it shows the importance of contacts. It shows the importance of knowing players around Europe and knowing what their attributes are, what their skill sets are, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Will they suit your system? Will they suit the way you want to play? When you have all your players, if you have all the players you want, will they work the way you want to play? Because you might play one way now, but if I have all my players I want, will they then be able to fit into the system and fit into the way I play? And like I said, that's all about preparation. That's all about being organized and having the right minds in place. There's been some sensational football minds available over the last 12 months that we could have got in at Cardiff City. Realistically, we could have got in and they would have made a fundamental difference to how the club functions from a football point of view. And we didn't do it. And they would not, in wages terms, would be nowhere near, what Wilfred Kanga was on, nowhere near what Gary Medine and Cornelius and all these other players who we've wasted money on, or the managers that we're still paying. Those analysts and those technical directors and those scouts and those people that would make a fundamental difference to the football club from a wage point of view are nowhere near what those players and managers would be still earning in some cases from the football club. So financially, we have to sort it out. Now's the time. Now, we may get away with it this year and stay up, but make no mistake, we have gotten away with it if we do. So it's got to be this summer where they have a fundamental change throughout the football club from top to bottom. I don't want anybody to lose their job, and I mean that sincerely. I don't want anyone to lose their job, but we need to make changes. In some cases, that might mean that people need to be moved to another department, a more suitable job. But ultimately, the club has to fix itself, and they need to get the right people in to ease the burden on the financial crisis that the football club's in. Now, would it be easier if we just got a multi-billionaire who loved Cardiff to come in? Well, of course it would. We'd all love that. But unless you know a sugar daddy, we got to come up with fixes that are more realistic. Thank you so much for joining me. This video was actually a little bit shorter than I thought it was going to be when I wrote it out, but I really appreciate you joining me. So get involved, and I'll see you in a bit.